we want there to actually be a thought around like an evaluation each day. So you get like 2 chances to evaluate how you did. You get to do it while you do it, and then you get to do it at the end of the day when you reflect on it. And your reflections go into your communication feed, like I said before, and your teammates get to see kind of what you're up to and how you're doing. And again, that's 5 points. And then the last piece is a well-being practice. The well-being practice changes week by week during the challenge. And this is kind of our catch-all area for things that are definitely related to health, fitness, and well-being, but not as directly a lot of times. Like decluttering, or like, organizing, or like disconnecting from electronics, or like a mindfulness practice, like journaling or meditation, or even playing happy music. That's one of that's come up. It's a joyful noise or joyful sound or something like that. We call it in the challenge. So those each week change over the course of the challenge. And the idea is that you engage in that practice to the best of your ability. And we give you some real black and white rules to follow around doing it. And you score yourself. You either did it or you didn't again. So that's really it. Every day you can earn 35 points total.
Got it. And it's basically the honor system. It sounds like people are super involved, but they're the ones grading themselves, right? They don't have to submit like photo evidence or any of that.
There's no photo evidence. If you're doing it with a team of people that are your friends and you live close to one another, I think it's more sticky if you do have more to go with it. Like you're going to see each other. You guys decide to, put some money on it, or agree to take the winner out to a big dinner, or it makes it more interesting and more fun. But the reason we don't do that from a global standpoint is we have no way of verifying. We don't want to be in that business. This is not a game necessarily to win. This is a game that everybody wins. Everybody's going to win at their own pace and their own speed and in their own life. And who are we to say that somebody that loses 5 pounds on it won bigger than somebody that didn't lose any weight, but changed their relationship with their son or daughter? What's the winner? Who wins that one?
That's awesome. And do you feel like, or do you have any follow-up data as to do you feel like this mindset helps people stick with things longer? Like, are people continuing to integrate into life after the challenge?
We don't have any data around that. We know that the people that this stuff tends to stick with are the people that continue to come back and do challenge after challenge after challenge. We've had people email us who have not come back and done challenge after challenge and have only done 1 or 2 challenges and have come back 2 or 3 years later and told us that the habit stuck. We haven't tried to set up any sort of double-blind studies to prove that this method works. It's funny, me and my partner Michael are coaches, and we never intended to set ourselves up as being the gurus or the experts or the scientists who are giving people this advice. Like, we just looked at what works and what doesn't work for the large group of people that we've always worked with. And this is what works. This is what works for a lot of people. And, the people that are willing to re-engage in doing this over a long period of time are typically the ones that have the most success doing it.
Got it. Yeah, it's such a cool concept. I love it. I can't wait to try it myself. This episode is brought to you by Perfect Keto. I have heard from a lot of you who are trying the keto diet right now, and Perfect Keto has several products that makes it so much easier and tastier. They have keto-friendly sports drinks with 0 additives, 0 carbs, and only high-quality ingredients. And I've gotten so many questions about this. They also have exogenous ketones that raise blood ketone levels up to 1.5 millimoles per liter. So that would be simulating a fast. A lot of people use these exogenous ketones to increase mental performance and energy production and fat burning without the need to do extended fasting. And Perfect Keto really just helps make ketosis available to everyone, everywhere, all the time without the need to do extended fasting, like I said. You can check out these and all of their other products at perfectketo.com/healthymoms. And if you use the code healthymoms, all uppercase, you can save 20% on any order. This episode is brought to you by Four Sigmatic. They are one of my favorite companies. They make a wide variety of really delicious drinks using medicinal mushrooms like chaga and cordyceps, reishi, lion's mane, and others. I especially love their instant coffee packets, which have all of the taste of regular coffee, but are easier to make, they have less caffeine, and they actually give me more of a brain boost due to the medicinal mind-boosting mushrooms. They make amazing hot cocoa mixes that my kids love, and there's also a wonderful matcha drink. They have all of that and more, and you can check out all of their products and grab a 15% discount at foursigmatic.com/wellnessmama and using the code wellnessmama. So again, that's foursigmatic.com/wellnessmama and using the code wellnessmama. I also want to delve into your personal background a little bit because you have such a background in health, and I'm always fascinated by people like you, and I'm curious to know what are a few of your top daily rituals or tools or practices that you found are the most beneficial in improving or maintaining health?
Probably the biggest one for me is winning the morning. Like I find that if I win the morning, I win the day. And I know that's kind of cliche, but it's been a really challenging thing for me, like a practice to quote unquote win the morning, because I don't typically like to get myself to bed in time to get up early enough to have the quiet time in my house to quote unquote win the morning. And I also need a good amount of sleep. Like if I go to bed at 11, I really need to sleep until like 6:30 or 6:45. By the time I do that, my son's up by 7, my wife's up, the house is, going pretty strong. It's only 3 of us, but it's still going pretty strong. And I run out of time. So I've had to really do some inner work around getting myself to bed, setting a rigid bedtime, 9:30 or 10 o'clock, so that I can get up at 5:30 at the latest and get in the ritual. And the rituals, the things on my list are meditation, usually for 5 or 10 minutes, journaling, which usually takes about 10, maybe 15 minutes. I play this brain game called Brain HQ. I don't know that one's any better than some of the other ones out there, but they help keep me sharp. And I'm experimenting this year to see if it over a course of a year that makes a difference. So I do that in the morning. I like to get some like 10 minutes of mobility in, and I have a few different mobility routines that I follow, like basically a head to toe joint, full articulation of all my joints. If I get those things done, I also drink water in the morning, and that's a big one. Like first thing in the morning when I get up, I try to drink 2 12-ounce glasses of water. If I get those things done, the day's looking pretty good. Like the setup of the day is looking pretty good. Now things still may go to crap, and I still, it doesn't mean that life's going to be perfect, but I feel really good by 6:30 or 6:45 when those things are done, and I'm more at peace with. Oh, the other thing is I try to at least look over the last thing I do, because part of one of the problems for me in the morning is when I turn my phone on. If I let myself go into email or go into Slack or go into Google, like for news, it becomes a tractor beam, and invariably 45 minutes later, I didn't realize, but I'm still on my phone. So when I turn my phone on, I have this very strict rule that I have now for 45 minutes. I don't go anywhere other than there's a couple of meditation apps I use, or to play that brain app. So, but the last thing I like to do is kind of look at my calendar and look at my to-dos for the day, and like kind of give myself a mental rundown of what's coming.
I love that. And I'm so with you on that, because I keep my phone in airplane mode when I'm sleeping, and I try not to turn it off of airplane mode unless I know that like someone in the family needs to text me about something. But until I've gotten through the morning routine and gotten through everything I need to do with my kids, and then tackle that when I start tackling work, because you're right, it's so distracting and it's so easy to get sucked into that vortex for sure.
Yeah. I mean, even just one email. One email can lead you down. I've had it happen. One email or one Slack. Somebody, it's very innocent. Somebody asks you a question that you can answer in 10 seconds, but suddenly my brain jumps into 3 different things and I don't even realize it's happening. And then suddenly, like I said, 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, I'm still in Slack. I'm like, God, what just happened?
Yeah, exactly. So I also want to ask you a somewhat selfish question, because you have a background in personal training and obviously in fitness. And I love weight training, especially heavy weights. So I'm always curious to ask people like you who have an expertise, What are the best ways, especially for women? We know the benefits. We know that weight training helps keep your bones healthy, your heart healthy. There's so many benefits. But what are some of the best ways for women to train with weights? Is there a particular type of program or method that seems to work best in your experience?
Well, I try to steer people away from programs and steer them more in terms of concepts. And I think one of the big mistakes I see women making is treating themselves differently than humans. And what I mean by that is they're not like little delicate flowers. No human is a little delicate flower. And there's no reason that a woman needs to limit herself to just picking up dumbbells that weigh less than 1.5 pounds. It drives me bonkers because they go home and they pick up their kid, or they go home and they pick up a 5-gallon water bottle, and they have to get their suitcase. If they're going to be an empowered woman, they're not going to constantly want to ask a man to cart their suitcase around. So they're going to carry it down the stairs themselves. And they need to be able to, in my opinion, weight training and using weights should support what you're doing in life. So if you take a snapshot or a movie, of your day, and you look around at the ways that you move your body and you pick things up and move things around, what are those movements? You're probably lunging, you're probably squatting, you may not be doing a pull-up, you may not be pulling yourself up and over a fence, but you may be putting something in an overhead compartment like a briefcase or maybe a heavier bag. You may be picking your kids up. Is your training doing that? And if your training isn't doing that or mimicking doing that, it doesn't have to do it identically, then perhaps it's time to rethink what you're doing, because you're not, little pink dumbbells, they build little muscles like your shoulders, but your body doesn't think about body parts. It works as one homogeneous unit. It says, how do I accomplish this mission? And if the only thing that you've done is work body parts, you have not aligned your training to your life. And that for me is really the key for this goes for men or women, but I just see more women thinking this way than, although you can funnel bodybuilding into this same conversation. The weights are heavier, but bodybuilding's the same conversation. So function. How do you work? How do you operate?
That makes perfect sense. So favoring more like natural movement exercises like squats and deadlifts and pull-ups over just doing like smaller isolated movements, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't have to necessarily even be with weights. I can get a great squat workout with doing no weights, but I have to add some intensity, which means I have to like squeeze more work into less time. So, if I was going to give somebody a hard squat workout and with no weights, I would say, okay, why don't we see how fast you can do 100 squats or maybe 50 squats? How fast can you do that? And now I'm there as a trainer to assess form, and I wouldn't give that to somebody who didn't already have good form in their squats. But when you add the time component and the pressure that comes with that, you add a level of intensity that, quite honestly, you're going to come away from that sore and you're going to feel that. And that is effective. It should be hard and it should hurt and it should leave you feeling the result of that the next day.
Agree. That's awesome. So a few questions as we get close to the end of time that I want to make sure I ask you, because I love to ask everyone. What are a few things that people don't know or understand about what you're excellent at?
I thought about this because you gave me some of these questions in advance. And one of them I wrote down is, and this is something that I've wrestled with and have had various breakthroughs with. And that's really the definition of long-term in terms of life, our life. Like we tend to think that setting long-term goals means set a goal for what you want in 6 months or 9 months or maybe a year. That's long-term. And when it comes to your health and well-being, how long did it take you to get in the condition you're in that you don't like? Did it take 20 years? Did it take 15 years? It didn't happen in 6 months. It took a long time. So it's not going to be quick to change the things. Probably it's not going to be quick. You'll get some results within 6 weeks. Like people get results all the time doing the Whole Life Challenge. But if you want really long-term results, you've got to shift that thinking from 6 months is long-term to maybe 6 years is long-term. Or this is a 10-year plan. Like I'm going to get this back, but it's going to be slow and consistent and my life's going to look completely different in 10 years, but I'm going to get there gradually. And maybe I'll set some guideposts along the way, but it's a whole different context long-term.
That's a great one. I think you're so right. I think we all, especially in today's world with instant gratification, we want to fix the problem yesterday, or at least in 5 minutes. And you're